Welcome to the Wealthy Retailer Podcast. My name's Dan Holman, and if you're in and around the world of retail, independent or otherwise, you want to listen to this conversation. My guest today is Laura with Sweet Boutique here in St. Albert, and Laura has a great story to share. Laura, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate it. Well, let's just start. Before we dig into Sweet Boutique, let's talk about Laura. Who's Laura? Talk to us about where you've come from, how you've gotten to this place in St. Albert.
Sure. Well, I grew up in Calgary in a large family. My father was an entrepreneur and a business owner, so I grew up working for his businesses. And then I started my own family very early. I had 3 kids by the time I was 24 and decided to stay home with them and raise them, but still needed to bring income in, so I opened up a home daycare, and I ran a day home for 15 years, wow. Which was great for my children and great for the family income, but it didn't always fill my cup up entirely. And so I got involved in direct sales, right, and started selling for a couple of different companies, Tupperware and a couple of other ones. But I did very well with a scrapbooking company because it was a consumable item. Right. So I had customers coming back every month. Tupperware has a long shelf life. So
it does.
Yes, so constantly having to find new customers. Yeah. So I did very well with that, getting to the top in Canada for sales and recruiting, but sales is really where I was focused. It wasn't so much building the team, it was more selling the product. And so I continued on doing that as for evenings and weekends. And then an opportunity arose in 2014 when a friend of mine started a company out of Kelowna selling patterned leggings. I bought them for my daughters off her website just to support her. And when they arrived, I had never felt that fabric or seen the fit. So I told her that she really needs to sell them in person. And she said she had no way of doing that. And I said, let me do home parties. I was kind of the home party queen.
Yeah.
And so I convinced my husband to let me use his credit card to buy 100 pairs of leggings. And through social media, which was just really starting to take hold then, I had sold 75% of that stock before the box arrived, and the business was off and going. So within a few months of that, we were doing 4 to 6 home parties a day in the Edmonton area.
A day?
A day. I just had to I had to hire someone to come to my house to answer emails because there were so many coming through of party requests. It was unlike anything it was just the fad of the time. People were touching each other's pants when they were out. And so I had a team of girls that were coming to my house and taking bins of product out and selling them. And I was sort of running the back end of things while still doing parties because I love that customer interaction. Right. And then 5 months after doing that, I got a letter from the city saying that I couldn't sell from my home anymore. There were just too many people coming to buy, and it wasn't residential anymore. So I had to switch quickly to plan B, and that was I would go to a retail front, not necessarily to run a retail store. That had never been on my plate or an idea for me, but as a retail front to my home party business. And so I rented one of the first spots that I had found that seemed like it was reasonable. I didn't have a clue what reasonable was.
Sure.
I didn't negotiate anything. I just paid whatever they asked for. And we turned that over in 9 days, putting in fitting rooms and flooring. And Sweet Boutique opened 9 days after getting the keys.
And how long were you in that location behind the gas station? I call it behind the gas station.
Yeah, it was behind the gas station.
It was literally behind, but it wasn't behind the gas station.
No, we missed that gas station. We were there for 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
2.5 years in 1,000 square feet. I opened just selling patterned leggings. Right. That was all I had. But the sales were very, very strong right off the get-go because it was such a fad at the time. We really hit the trend. And then women they were coming in to buy their leggings, and they wanted some tops to go with it.
Yeah, understandable.
So I remember it was December of 2014. I was sitting at the computer and I Googled where to find women's wholesale clothing because I didn't have a clue. Yeah. I didn't have a clue where to do that. And I found a few suppliers and a brand that was just sort of starting to take traction, and started bringing in more products.
more. Mm-hmm. And so since then, so you've been now 2 years, year and a half? Are we a year and a half in the new location?
2.5 years.
2.5 years, the new location.
Yeah.
So spent a couple of years in behind the gas station location, kind of digging your heels in and finding your, some vendors in your path, and to now.
And finding my niche a little bit because I was trying at first to be all things to that demographic customer. Our customer was really focused on mothers. That's who was buying the clothing from me. Right. So I expanded into children's wear, baby accessories. I had men's wear in there sometimes, jewellery. Right. I was a little bit of an everything store. We just outgrew that space. We were holding events that We just couldn't manage in that spot. So when we decided to move to the new larger location, 1,600 square feet, and on the main street in town, I really had to focus on who my customer was and what my mission was. And it's really all about her, about the woman buying, and not necessarily about her family and the things she's getting for them, but really about her and making her feel fabulous. So we sort of curated our collection down into just things for the woman. And if it doesn't go on her body, it generally doesn't go in our store.
Doesn't fit in the store,
Kinda keeps us
focused.
Keeps me focused from all the fancy things that I see when I go buying, and I think, ooh, I can
chasing
sell
shiny
these.
things.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we've just come back from buying trips and planning to go on another one, but chasing shiny things is sometimes a lot of fun.
It is fun, yes, but I do need to stay focused and stay in my lane sometimes. Yeah.
Good. Good. Okay, so we're a couple of years into the new location. I think I said this to you before, and I'm going to say it again. One of the things that I sit in awe of on Wednesdays is the number of people that you attract to your Facebook Live Win It Wednesday. You've sort of branded it Win It Wednesday. How did that idea, how was it born? How has it evolved? What has it done for your business?
Well, I think I jumped on that quite early. Before live video came out on Facebook and Instagram, we were doing video tours of the store, and I would do that late at night, just me and the video camera going through. And I had to do so many takes and so many edits to make it perfect. It was just a way to show my customers what was new. And I was trying to build that relationship with them through the conduit of social media. And then when live videos came out, about 3 years ago, I jumped onto that right away because now I actually had a communication channel. It wasn't just me putting it out and waiting for comments. I actually had a live way of communicating with the clientele that was out there, and that was a complete game changer. So we started with things like unboxing videos, doing that live, trying to get a little bit of hype going and interest. And that involved, we were doing our Win It Wednesday with a photograph of an item and giving an item away every Wednesday. I always thought I'd rather team up with a vendor to give something away or pay for something out of my own pocket to give away rather than putting the advertising money into newspaper or print ads or something like that. And then Win It Wednesday just organically started to grow this incredible following. That the same people were watching every week. I think one of the important things is that we scheduled it at the right time. We scheduled it for 8:30 at night when I knew that kids had kind of gone down to bed and she was hanging around and on her phone scrolling. So we caught the right time, and then keeping it very consistent. We do live videos throughout the week, but always consistently Wednesday at 8:30 we go live. For between 30 to sometimes 90 minutes, depending on what we've got going on and what we've got to talk about. And we have people who are watching and on for that entire time.
Yeah, that's fabulous. And so how many people are you gathering on a weekly basis? Do you keep track of how many people watch?
Oh yeah, we watch. And we have usually between 200 and 250 live viewers.
Wow.
And I kind of expected that to grow, and I'm glad it hasn't, because we do get a little ridiculous sometimes, and I'm afraid that someday it will go viral and people will be watching who are not my people. And so I'm glad that hasn't happened, because I do want to keep those live viewers as the ones who I know I will see in the store on Thursday or Friday. I don't want to become an entertainment show for people who are outside sort of my cash. But then we end up usually with about 5,000 to 6,000 views of the video over the next couple of days. You know, a lot of customers that's not their time, but they'll even listen to it on the way to work in the morning or while they're doing a run, or they'll watch it the next morning. So it gets quite a wide viewership.
That's terrific. And so then you added, you know, I mean, you guys have fun on these videos. I mean, I'm a little embarrassed to say that I watch them sometimes.
You're not the only man who does.
Right. Yeah. But you've added Prosecco, and I mean, you guys have fun when you do these videos.
Well, Prosecco was key. Prosecco was key.
It was the relaxation.
We used to pop a bottle at 8 o'clock so that we could drink a bottle before we went live at 8:30. It was almost a necessary thing to get over that. But I mean, I've had times where I have been drinking Prosecco and I've spit onto the camera. It's very raw. It's very real. There's very low production value to it. It costs us absolutely nothing, just the phone that we need.
But it gains you this level of authenticity, which sometimes is a bit of permission to play, but it gains you some level of authenticity with your client base. They have the ability to connect directly with you.
Definitely.
Which is not
sometimes even the name of in boutique scares people.
Sure.
They think it's very high end, that they think it's very hoity-toity, and that you have to have be a certain type of person to shop there. And so by being able to have people see live into our store every week and get to know the staff members and get to know me, it shows them that we're just regular women, and that's who we're welcoming in.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so now let's talk a little bit about, outside of, your Win It Wednesday, what other things are you doing to attract customers to you? Where else do you look for that woman?
Well, we're quite focused on social because it is the relationship builder. Any type of advertising, print or magazine, is just one-sided. I put it out there and I don't know who's looking at it. And so the conversation on social has been really wonderful and able to...
I think that's important that we reiterate that. The conversation that happens on social, and that print media is one-sided, right?
Well, because my business is building a relationship with women. My product is the conduit and what keeps the lights on, but my business is really getting into that woman, building a relationship with her, which funny enough, social has had us missing now. We're lacking that in-person connection. So we want to use that to then bring them into the store where we can build a relationship with them. And then our mission of our store, because we are size inclusive and do extra small up to 3X, is to be a store full of body positivity, getting rid of that negative self-talk that women have. Women shopping can be a really demoralizing experience. You can spend the whole day at the mall and feel worse about yourself than when you walked in. And so our mission is always to make every woman feel better about herself when she leaves, whether she purchases or not.
And in February, you did a Love Yourself campaign. Was it a Love Yourself campaign? Am I maybe paraphrasing? Tell us about that campaign.
No, it was the Love Yourself campaign. So we looked at Valentine's Day, that one day, and it's really quite commercialized and hallmarked. And so we wanted to switch that around. Instead of loving your partner, if you have one, it was really more about loving yourself. Ideally loving the physical state that you're in now. And I've realized that women can go from hating their body, asking them to love their body is really difficult. And so that's too much of a switch. So we're really looking for people to just not let how they look set them back from doing whatever they want to do. So we started this campaign, and I asked all of my customers to email me love stories about themselves and include a picture. And we've posted one every single day, chosen somebody every day to post. And the rawness and realness and vulnerability of our clientele has been overwhelming for me. Very personal stories, including their photograph and their name being put out to a following of 15,000 people. Really, I think that speaks to the relationship that we've built with them. That you've
built, and the trust that you've built with them.
Yes, and for them to see that it's not just me and her, it's a wider community. That we're all feeling the same way and we're all banding together. And so that's been really wonderful. And then in the store, we're having all of the customers write down what they love about themselves on hearts, and we've been plastering them around the store. And it's so nice to see customers looking at that wall and reading all the positive things that people are saying about each other.
That's terrific. And so where does this take you next? Like, how do you top that? What's the April plan?
I'll figure that out March 31st.
Figure it out then? Like a true entrepreneur.
I'm really...
Wait till I get there.
I said I fly by the seat of my pants, and I really do, because sometimes some of our best promotions have come out of absolutely nothing and get into works right away.
And by promotions, we mean the ability to actually promote ourselves. It has really nothing to do with sales.
No.
It's about us gaining market share. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. And it's
sales is nice, but it's...
Well, sales is what we need to keep the place open. But that's not necessarily the goal that we're going for.
Sales is a consequence.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, and you're seeing that the more you put yourself out there for them, consequentially, you get sales back in return for that.
Absolutely, because it comes down to my why. The why is at the heart of it. So as long as I'm focused on why I'm doing what I'm doing, then consequentially we get the who and the what.
So how do you share your why, not just with your external guest, your external customer, but the internal customer, the girl that works for you? How do you share your why with her?
Oh, super important in that we're a really close-knit team, that we fit really well together. We have lower turnover, I think, than some stores, but we do, if someone's not the right fit, they leave pretty quickly. But they are also people who are struggling with their own image. And so we work on them as well so that they're able to give to that customer. So we sort of I have to fill their cups up before they're able to give that way too. And we have such a fabulous, positive work environment. where everybody is excited to come to work each morning.
Yeah, and so you said fill their cup up. What do you do to fill your cup up? It's difficult for us to fill up our team's cup if ours is empty. I mean, we fill it with what overflows from our cup.
Right.
How do you fill your cup?
Well, I've been really blessed, actually, with a naturally full cup. But truly, and that's what I didn't realize. No, I didn't realize. Yeah, figuratively and literally, I didn't realize that self-confidence was such an issue for women because I have not had it myself. It was when I went out and started selling these leggings and seeing people's comments that I realized this is a huge issue that I really haven't been aware of.
Right.
So I want to share some of that. Relationships fill my cup up, and hearing people's stories, that fills me up. And knowing that, seeing that woman who, first of all, would buy clothes and try them on at home and then return, and then she starts going in the change room and trying them on, but not coming out, to then becoming the woman who comes out and shows us to get our opinion, to then being the woman who literally prances around the store. That transition, this sort of butterfly metamorphosis that we see, is really what fills my cup.
That's
for
awesome.
sure.
How do you attribute, that level of trust, or what do you attribute that level of trust that she gets from you? How do you make that connection?
I think it's really authenticity.
It's just being authentic, being truthful. And
the person that you see in the store is the person that you see on the videos, is the person that is in my home. There's no difference there. And when you say filling a cup, it also comes from my home life as well. And having 5 kids who are all supportive of this business and this dream, having 2 of them be part of it.
Part of it, yes, in it.
2 of my daughters work for me as well, and one looking forward to a long career with me. And then also having a husband who's just ready to let me roll anytime and taking care of things.
And that we find retail to be a somewhat lonely world some days. And it's difficult, sometimes to go home and share your retail story with someone, that maybe doesn't get it.
Yes.
So do you reach out outside of your home for that connection to people that are somewhat like-minded, that are sharing your journey, in their own way? Yeah,
I'd say one of the mistakes was for a few years I was sharing that with employees.
Right.
And that created a bit of a power imbalance in that I was still the owner, and there were some things I didn't really need to be sharing with them, but because I am so open, I was.
You became one of them instead of their leader.
Yes, but also they're one of
you, right?
Too.
Yeah.
So I've had to reach out further into other retail owners to find that fellowship and that companionship with, and some within apparel, but some in other retail industries. But people who are understanding that owning is different than managing.
Right. It's very different. I mean, entrepreneurialism in itself it's very different than, what happens in more than 50 or 60% of the population. They work for someone else. They're not entrepreneurs. They don't really understand that. And even myself, I reach out to a mastermind of, a pool of other entrepreneurs to say, let's talk, let's share, let's walk me backwards off this cliff I'm on today, because I'm on a roller coaster.
Definitely.
Yesterday I thought I was pretty smart, and today I'm second guessing myself.
That's how I am all the time. No, and it's also knowing how much goes into it, how much time, and not just the time that I'm actually working, that anyone would visibly see me working, but that this is going constantly. It never stops. The ticking and the spinning is really constant. So it's only, I think, other entrepreneurs and owners who would understand how the business becomes part of your life and very all-encompassing.
That it is all-encompassing. And I think that that's part of also, the things that other people don't recognize. That it's something we think about constantly.
Yes.
There isn't a way to turn it off. People say to me, don't you ever unplug? Well, I try, but the minute I unplug, I release something in my mind that allows me to become really creative, that I plug right back in and say, oh, I gotta write that down. I gotta do this, I gotta try this.
Yeah. And I don't always want to unplug.
Right.
Because the part of that business is part of me, and it's feeding me as well. So when I do try to unplug from the business, I'm missing something that's part of me. But there's been strategies that I've learned in order to, meld those two things together. For example, I'll make up my grocery list, but I'll meld it with what I need for the store. Why am I doing 2 separate tasks? Why would I have a list for my home and a list for the store when I could be doing those things at once?
Sure.
So business is sort of always always part of my daily life.
And so what's next? What's next on your plate of what to do?
Oh, gosh,
she says
Dan.
like a deer in the headlights. I don't know.
Well, there's so many opportunities, and some of them I haven't really harnessed. Online sales is obviously an opportunity that a lot of boutiques go with, and they have that omni-channel sales. We haven't done that necessarily because I miss the relationship and I miss the face-to-face
the in-store experience
with that person. But I think it's something that we do need to look at, not necessarily to go out and seek new customers for that online, but just to better service our current customers who are busy, who might want to catch something. Things go quickly after our Win It Wednesday show.
Sure.
And part of the trouble has been the perception of how quickly things go. Customers are hesitant to come in on Saturday because they think it will all be gone.
It was already gone.
But it's not necessarily.
Sure.
But if they can check out online and pick it up in store at their leisure and according to their timetable, then that would be something that we'd look for.
I think creating an opportunity for her to shop. You've heard me talk about the buying phase of a customer. She moves from dreaming to exploring to selecting.
Yeah.
And if we can be part of her dreaming, then maybe we can capture her earlier in that process and own a bigger piece of that market share.
Exactly.
And that does mean that we need to be online. I don't necessarily mean transacting online, but I think we need to be out there. I think people need to have a picture into our store and to see what it's like and what it's going to feel like when you do come in.
Yeah.
And so buy online, pick up in store. I mean, it's a big thing now, but I feel like you need to be part of that buying process with her.
Well, and we do. We have customers from far away, from Newfoundland, Saskatchewan, and Vancouver, who've sort of stumbled across our videos or found some other way, and we're shipping out to them weekly, and we do a lot of FaceTime shopping with them. So the staff at the store, we have a staff cell phone, which has really changed things in order to give those customers a text line in or a channel into us. So if they can't shop in person, they can shop on FaceTime.
Oh, so you have a phone that's just dedicated for the store, a cell phone?
Yeah, it is. And it's not a public number. We don't advertise the number, but for those customers who we know are away, and sometimes they're away and they do come into town every month, so they'll do their pickups then we can stay connected to them and shop with them, get to know their body type, their size, and we can curate that selection by seeing them through our phone.
Yeah. Oh, what a good idea. Yeah. We use different platforms, technology for it. I never thought about just plugging a cell phone in here.
Yeah, it's just our store phone, and the staff check it throughout, and that helps me as well with the amount of messages that come in on Facebook. It still amazes me that people don't pick up the phone and just call. Just call and find out if we have that size. But instead they send a message, and they really are expecting very prompt response. And I can't always get to those messages so promptly. So the staff at the store are monitoring that and getting back to those customers who they can quickly answer a question, and leaving the ones that are a little bit more detailed or directed towards me for me to take care of.
It's funny, in our business, we use this rule. If you need an answer from me by the end of the week, send me an email. If you need an answer by the end of the day, send me a text.
Yeah.
If you need an answer right now, pick up the phone.
I know. I know. But a lot of clients are really hesitant to pick up the phone and make that call because we're so used to communicating with people through short messages.
Right. So we talk about texting customers and that opportunity. What else is on your horizon?
Well, the last year has been a real, Dan. Should I? Shouldn't I? Should I? Shouldn't I? The store has done really well and been successful in this small footprint. Do I then expand and put another store and another store and another store? And for a while there, that sort of piqued my interest, but it did die off because what I want to have is one really amazing store and not necessarily have several locations. That's not my dream. I just want to keep it great, but we are in tight corners, and the opportunity might come up to expand.
To push the walls out a little bit.
And to get some more square footage. But it's a little bit less about increasing sales. Of course, we'd have to increase our sales, but it's increasing the customer experience. And again, that internal customer, my staff, to increase their experience, to allow them to do their jobs better when we aren't in such, we've had days where we have had 600 customers come through our 1,600 square foot store. I mean, you can imagine the madness.
No,
there are times,
I've driven by and seen the lineup outside the store, for sure.
And sometimes there's been a lineup outside the store to pay at the till because there's nowhere to go inside the store. So we definitely need to have a little bit more breathing room, which then will allow some opportunity as well as far as our assortment and selection to bring in more product.
More product. And are you looking to expand your assortment? Do you think that expanding the assortment is required for her? Does she need to see more?
Yes, a little
okay.
bit, I think, yes.
Okay.
I think we could do more. We are a really casual store, casual everyday clothing, but I think we could expand a little bit more into some sort of special event around certain times.
Right.
Christmas
And are you
time,
hearing
having a
her
little bit
say
more.
that? Is that how
Yes.
you build that? You know, I need to look at this. You're listening to her?
Yes.
How do you listen to her? How does she speak to you?
Well, a lot in person.
Right.
But I do get comments on social media and messages to me
Right.
right away. But everybody wants something.
Yes.
They want me to carry for tall. They want me to carry for petites. They want me to carry for plus petites. They
Right.
want me to bring in footwear. And so I do have to sort of keep what I can manage.
Right. But I think that reinforces our belief that customers are not buying our brand. They're not buying brands from us. They're buying our brand. They're buying who we are.
Oh, 100%.
You know, when a petite customer comes and says, "Gosh, I wish you carried petite or tall or slim or wide or men's," it's because they already believe in the experience.
Yes.
They're already part of the fabric now in your store, and they want you to be able to cater to them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And funny enough,
That speaks to your experience.
Yeah. We've had a lot of people ask for us to bring in menswear. And I just say that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. You know, we've brought in a few items that she might buy for him,
Right.
socks and underwear
Sure.
and things like that. But as far as bringing menswear, and that changes the dynamic of the store. And we want to really keep it as a super safe place.
For women,
Male
for
shoppers
sure.
are very different than women shoppers.
Yes,
so
we are.
We just want to keep within our niche, expand a little bit, but not into other categories.
Right.
I don't want to become a boutique that then gets into home decor and gifts
Right.
and sort of spreads themselves that way. I just definitely want to keep with the things that make her feel good.
But you've curated your assortment from being all things to all
Yes.
people to now very focused on your niche. You know where your product lives. You know what your assortment needs to look like to satisfy her.
But where I would expand then is into the little her.
Oh,
The
okay.
little her
The
who
little
is
her.
shopping with her mom, who
Sure.
will become my customer in 5 or 10 years.
Right.
To get her wanting to come there. So we have a tiny selection of children's, but I'd want to expand that a little bit more if given
Right.
the room to be raising that next generation
Terrific.
of customers.
Yeah. So let's talk about staffing. How do you go out and curate that team, that forefront for your store that shares your values and your vision?
Well, some of the best team members that I have come within our customer base because they get it right off the bat. They understand the culture and the values that we have. And so when I put out my ad on Facebook or something saying that,
Right.
that we're hiring, a lot of customers do apply. And there's some who have become real gems because they get it already.
And they want to be part of the fun that they see happening.
Yes. And we have to calm them down sometimes. Excuse me. Because what they see is the fun.
Right.
So we have to really temper that and let them know that yes, it's fun and it's a wonderful work environment, but it involves a lot of hard work
Right.
as well. But passion is the first thing, is we can find the people who have that passion and then really give them a sense of ownership too of
Right.
what they're doing, give them that leeway to be able to say yes to the customer.
Empowering them.
We don't have a lot of policies and procedure.
Right.
We have procedure, but not a lot of policies that they feel they have to be
Right.
strict to. But that's really, really important for them. And even the name, we call them retail therapists. That's the
Right.
name of the women who work in my store because they are providing retail therapy to the customers.
True.
And sometimes that's a new wardrobe, and sometimes that's just a conversation.
Just talk.
And
Right.
both are equally important.
Right. Yeah. And so then have you found some challenge over the last few years in identifying those team members that make a difference?
Yes, and I'm still working on it.
Right. We always are.
Because I tend to sometimes put the wrong soul in that role, in a different
Right,
role, in the wrong
yeah.
role. I put the right soul in the wrong role.
Sure.
And based on what they want, not necessarily what their strengths are.
What their strengths are.
And so I need to work a little bit more on that.
Identifying someone's strengths to make sure that they're elevated to where they can truly be successful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you. This has been a really terrific conversation, Laura. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we let you go, I want you to tell everyone where they can find Sweet Boutique.
Physically?
Yeah, physically, virtually, digitally.
Okay. Well, you'll find us in the south side of St. Albert, right on St. Albert Trail.
We just had a conversation about it's kind of difficult to say the south side of St. Albert.
Yeah, but it is the south side.
It is
of
the
St.
south
Albert.
side. I know.
And putting our location there was important so that we stayed
Right.
closer to Edmonton and off the main highway
Sure.
there. I always say we're beside the Boston Pizza, which sounds nuts, but
It doesn't.
it's
I
where
said
we
the
are.
same thing. Producer Rob said to me, "Where is your store?" I said, beside Boston Pizza on the south side.
But people know where that is. And then...
and I promise Tony will appreciate us talking about Boston Pizza.
Oh, good, yes. And then you can find us on Facebook and Instagram is sort of where we hang out, and that's at sweetboutique.St.
Sweetboutique.St. Albert. Yeah. Terrific. My guest today, Laura from Sweet Boutique St. Albert. Thank you so much. If you haven't already subscribed to thewealthyretailer.com, please do so on your favorite podcast platform, and head over to thewealthyretailer.com and join our newsletter for lots of great content. Have an awesome day.